Welcome in, Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are going to talk about the possibility of trading for Aaron Donald. Yes, you heard that right. We will dive into that coming up in just a matter of moments. But first, we want to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day from Seahawks Today. We want you to shout out your dad in the comments section and show him some love. We'll show you my dad, Charlie. Wish I was with him, but instead I'm here working and bringing you today's show. He's the absolute best. Love you, Dad. Thanks for tuning in and supporting me, as always, on this show. Dads are the best. And on days like today, leave the thermostat alone, okay? And give Dad his peace and quiet, because we know that Dad just wants to enjoy watching the U.S. Open today and not do anything else. So all the dads out there, producer Trace, his dad Steve, the ref as well, show all the love to the dads out there. We appreciate you guys, and thank you for joining us here on Seahawks Today. Aaron Donald to Seattle. Is that possible? Could that happen? The only reason why we're even talking about this today is because Brock Huard, former Seahawks quarterback, now a college football analyst for Fox Sports and local radio host in Seattle for Seattle Sports 710, brought up this possibility. And where does Aaron Donald necessarily fit when you're looking at this Seahawks team? Well, here's more from Brock Huard on this possibility. You are in a time and in a place leadership-wise where Geno Smith has ascended with these young Bucks. You have them right at just the impressionable age with this rookie class, paired with the sophomore class from last year, where I think you are in an absolute sweet spot. And I want those guys. I don't love what the Rams did. I don't love that. And what Brock's referring to is where the Rams are at. Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Now they're trying to find their identity again. And so what about Aaron Donald in Seattle? I think it's highly unlikely, first off. Let's make this very clear that this is going to happen. Not only are you looking at an intra-division trade, which rarely happens in the National Football League to begin with, but this is the best defensive player in the league, okay? It would take a lot of mountains to be moved for this deal to be done. I will say, though, when you look at this Seattle Seahawks team and where they're at and where their needs are, in particular on the defense, Aaron Donald is exactly what the Seahawks need. Now, granted, every team in the league could use Aaron Donald, no question about it. But where the Seahawks are lacking, Aaron Donald would bring a lot to solve a lot of issues in the interior of the defensive line. So let me make that clear. Unlikely, but it would do wonders for this Seahawks team if it were to happen. We'll show you what Brock had to say in a moment. Also some statistics and what it would take to pull off this move. But first, your chance to weigh in. Our pinned comment today. Should the Seahawks trade for Aaron Donald? You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Tell me what you think one way or the other. Y for yes, N for no. Should the Seahawks trade for Aaron Donald or not? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. So Brock Huard laid out the cost of what it would take to pull this off. First and foremost, a lot of draft picks. As if that was a given, right? It would take a lot. I don't know exactly what the amount would be, but it would not be cheap. It would be very pricey to get a player of that caliber. And then besides just the draft picks itself, now you got to move around some cash, right? Starting with Aaron Donald. His cap hits over the next 3 seasons total close to $60 million, okay? That's a lot of money last time I checked over that 3-year stretch, $60 million. You'd have to move on from Jamal Adams, no question about that. And I know that you brought in Julian Love, but the thing with that is the cap hit. That's what's costly here. You take on $9.6 million for a guy not to play. You do get worse at the safety spot. Maybe Julian Love is going to be just fine anyway, but you are down another body and still having to pay that guy. And then on top of doing all that, of giving up a lot of draft picks, of paying Aaron Donald and cutting Jamal Adams, you got to free up even more cap space beyond that. So there are a lot of hurdles to jump through before you could even pull this off, bringing in Aaron Donald as far as that goes. Now, here's the thing. This is the argument for bringing in Aaron Donald, okay? Let me put it very simple for you. If the Seahawks believe they are just a player away, if they believe, you know what we need is help on that defensive line at the defensive tackle spot, that's the difference between the Seahawks winning and losing a Super Bowl, is Aaron Donald, then you can talk yourself into that. You can say, you know what? All in, we'll make it happen. We'll move those mountains necessary and bring him in. But it's going to cost you a lot to get there. That's a decision. If you're Seattle, if you sit here and say it's just that one guy, then this can make sense. Then you can talk yourself into this possibility. But there's some other question marks to get to. Also concerning about Aaron Donald's future that I want to discuss here in just a second. But first, name a player the Seahawks should trade for. We've heard Pete Carroll say that they're not done with this roster, that there's still work to be done before the 2023 season begins. Obviously, it's been a fantastic offseason for the Seattle Seahawks, but they still have some polishing to do before the season begins. Who is a player the Seahawks should trade for? If it's not Aaron Donald, who is it? Tell me in the comments section. Give me a player that comes to mind that you think the Seahawks should bring in. Folks, the shirt and hat combination is on sale now for $23.99. Maybe you're a bad kid and you forgot to get Dad a Father's Day present. Well, you can tell Dad his gift is on the way. That you didn't forget, maybe just got a little behind in shipping of some sorts. Whatever it may be. Maybe you get the shirt, Dad gets the hat, vice versa. Maybe he gets both. Whatever it may be, it's a great deal. It's $23.99. It's available just to Seahawks Today viewers at chatsports.com/12combo. What are you waiting for? Get this hat now. You'll be rocking with your hawk out right in time throughout this summer and into football season with this hat and shirt combo. $23.99 while supplies last. Get yours today. Chatsports.com/12combo. The resume on Aaron Donald is as good as it gets. You could probably divide Aaron Donald's career in thirds, and he would be a Hall of Famer 3 different times. He would at least be a Hall of Famer if you divided his career in half. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 9-time Pro Bowler, 7-time first-team All-Pro selection as well from 2015 to 2021. He is that dude. He is not only the best defensive player in the league, but he's one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game. We're not arguing the talent. We're not arguing the resume. Everything is there with Aaron Donald and then some. Last year did face a little bit of injuries, but even when he was out there, he was still terrific with 49 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. And the numbers with Aaron Donald, you always have to think about this. This is one thing I bring up with Aaron Donald all the time, is that he takes on more double teams than anyone else in the NFL, okay? And so his numbers don't quite reflect his impact on the game of what he makes every single play because of what he has to do. I mean, you go back to 2021 and 2020 and 2019, those seasons when he played full years, 12 and a half, 13 and a half, 12 and a half sacks. Unbelievable while still taking on those double teams. Stuff that's just unheard of, right? Here's more from Brock Huard on this possibility as he was bringing this up. Is Aaron Donald good enough to make you top 5? Is Aaron Donald all of a sudden against San Francisco and Philadelphia going to make you legit? And then on top of that, oh, by the way, PFF, did you see they graded your offensive line? Yeah, that would be 30 out of 32. So there are other needs, as Brock brings up here. Aaron Donald would be something else here. But do you cover everything that you need to cover at this point? Does he solve everything? I don't think you're necessarily one player away from the Super Bowl as this trade would take, as far as I'm concerned. I think the biggest reason why I would not bring in Aaron Donald, as far as I'm concerned, is I don't know how much longer he's going to go. On top of that, he's already talked about retirement. Even when he won that Super Bowl, he said, you know what, I might be good enough here. So that would be the biggest reason why I'd say no is, at this point, I don't know how much Aaron Donald wants to play. And does he want to play for another team outside the LA Rams and a division rival at that? So That's the biggest thing that stops me. Why, at the end of the day, if I'm John Schneider, I say no to this because I don't know how much longer he wants to do this. How likely is it the Seahawks trade for Aaron Donald? Scale it for me 1 through 10 in the comments section. If it's a 1, give it a 1. If you think it's going to happen, throw that 10 down there. Tell me in the comments section how likely it is the Seahawks trade for Aaron Donald. Subscribe to the channel. We're talking about your Seattle Seahawks each and every day with our news and rumors, live shows on Wednesdays, watch parties throughout the season as well. Subscribe now. Have a great Father's Day, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks.